All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to explore this really powerful idea about finding our place in a story that's way bigger than us. We're going to see how two ancient texts, Luke and Acts, don't just identify a universal human problem, but offer a pretty radical solution to it. So let me start with a question that I think probably hits home for just about everyone. Have you ever been in a room or a group or just any situation, and you get that sinking feeling that you just don't belong? Like everyone else got the memo and you were left on the outside looking in.
Yeah, if that rings a bell at all, you are definitely in good company. There's this quote that just gets right to the heart of it. Most of us, most of the time, feel left out, misfits. It's this deep, kind of nagging sense that we're on the outside looking in, and it really is a fundamental part of being human. So, what do we do when we feel that way, when we feel left out? Well, it turns out we have this super common, totally human reaction. We try to build our own place to belong. And it's a pattern that probably sounds really familiar. It all starts with that sting of feeling excluded. So, naturally, we go looking for somewhere we fit in. And that search so often ends with us building our own little exclusive club, a place where we feel like we're in. And it works for one simple reason: because someone else is kept out. And, think about it. These clubs, they take all sorts of shapes, don't they? They can be political parties, our social circles, cultural groups defined by certain tastes, even groups based on how much money we have. And here's the kicker: they can even be religious. But here's the catch, the really crucial part of this whole thing. This instinct we have to form our own clubs, it comes with what the source material calls a terrible price. And this is the trade-off, isn't it? On one hand, you get that sweetness of finally being an insider. You get a clear identity, a sense of worth. You finally belong. But the price on the other side is, well, it's steep. That whole feeling of belonging is actually built on a foundation of exclusion. It only works if you keep other people out. And in that process, your own world gets smaller and smaller. The source just puts it so perfectly. The cost is a reduction of reality, a shrinkage of life. By building all these walls to feel safe inside, we just end up shrinking our own existence. Okay, so if forming a club is a pretty flawed solution, what's the alternative? Well, this is where the book of Luke comes in, and it just completely flips the script on this whole insider/outsider thing. It all boils down to this one incredible sentence. This is the total game changer. It's the central argument against that whole club mentality. It suggests a reality where the very idea of an insider or an outsider just doesn't exist. And get this, the guy telling this story, Luke, he's kind of the perfect person to make this point. Why? Because he was an outsider himself. In a world where all the other New Testament writers were Jewish, he was the only Gentile, the only non-Jew. So he's writing from a perspective that is just naturally wired to notice and include the people who are normally pushed to the margins. And you see it all through his story, right? He goes out of his way to spotlight Jesus' interactions with the very people the establishment of that day considered outsiders. Women, everyday workers like sheep herders, people from totally different racial backgrounds like the Samaritans, and of course, the poor. And that is the big shift. The whole point here isn't about passing some test to get into the club. It's about being found and welcomed in. It's a story that just throws the doors wide open, especially for all the people who've always felt like they were on the outside. Now, this is an incredible message, right? A total breath of fresh air. But, and there's a but, this leads to a whole new problem, a much sneakier one, an unexpected twist in the story. Just think about it for a second. When you hear a story that is this good, this spectacular, what's the single biggest risk in how you respond to it? The danger is that we just become fans, enthusiastic spectators. We admire the story, we're impressed by the message, we give a lot of oohs and ahs from the sidelines, but we never actually get into the game ourselves. So how do you avoid that trap? Well, Luke didn't stop with one book. He wrote a sequel. And the entire point of his second book, the book of Acts, is to call us out of the stands and onto the field, to move us from just being a spectator to actually becoming a participant. Because here's Luke's big message in Acts. The story isn't over, not by a long shot. The story of Jesus doesn't actually end with Jesus. It's designed to keep going, and it continues in the lives of the people who believe in him. So you've got these two totally different ways to engage, right? On one side, you've got the spectator. They admire Jesus, they're impressed, they cheer from a distance.
But the participant? Oh, that's a whole different ballgame. They get that their job is to continue the story. They are in on the action of God, because God is now acting and living in them.
And this is really the ultimate perspective shift. We're not just looking back and admiring a historical figure who did amazing things. We're being invited to become a part of a living, breathing story where that very same divine action continues through us today. So that kind of leaves us with a big question to chew on for ourselves. In our own lives, in our communities, and our belief systems, are we defaulting to that old human instinct of building exclusive clubs? Or are we choosing to be participants in a wide open story of welcome and continuation? It's a question worth thinking about.